Welcome to NFL World, where the NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob. And before we recap what happened in Week 12, we got two coordinator firings, I should say. Let's first begin with Chip Kelly, who was fired, or relieved of duty is the term they love to use now. They don't just want to say fired, but we're going to say fired. He was fired because he was doing an awful job. He's the highest paid offensive coordinator. Remember, Pete Carroll comes in, he's basically assembling his own staff, and then the next thing you know, he brings in Chip Kelly, and he makes him one of the highest paid coordinators in NFL history, probably the highest paid coordinator in NFL history, but he was the highest paid NFL coordinator currently, and it was awful. They can't run the football. The offensive line is so banged up they can't do anything. They can't protect Geno. Geno's throwing interceptions. Outside of Bowers and Mayer, they don't have any receiver to any real threat at this position. There's receiving positions. Tucker's the one guy. They traded away Jacoby Myers. They didn't get anything for him. They need a lot. Genty has been awful. Like, you can't run the football. You can't throw the football. You're turning the ball over too much. Your offensive line can't protect your quarterback. Your quarterback's throwing more interceptions than touchdowns. And this is also, it's a weird thing because I was thinking about this. I have not, in my years, this usually, how do I say this? When you're a team and you bring in a guy who's an offensive guy, it frustrates me when I see an offensive guy go into a system, go into a place, and the thing he's supposed to be great at, the team is not great at, or the team is not good at, or the team's not even average at. And that's what this Raiders team is. Chip Kelly, when he was in Philadelphia, they had some okay years. They made the playoffs. He goes to San Francisco. He was a begrudging in San Francisco. He goes back to college. He was winning a lot there. Comes back to the NFL to be the offensive coordinator. It's so vanilla of an offense, it makes no sense to me. It's a college offense. It's a college offense, which the pros react so quickly. I'm going to go, this is a little bit of a sidetrack. We're going down a different road for a second here. The last couple of years I brought up the name John McKay. John McKay was the head coach of the USC Trojans in the 60s and 70s. In 1976, he became the head coach of the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The problem was he thought there was not much difference from coaching at a college level to a pro level. He's like, there's no difference. There can't be a difference. But it is. It is a difference. Because they would run a college offense, which was they would pitch the ball to the running back on first down 90% of the time. And the pros could react to that so quickly because they knew it was coming. And as a result, that team went 0-14 and nearly went 0-28 in 2 years because you only played 14 games a year back then. It's not as vanilla as that, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I've never seen a team so dreadful at the passing game, the rushing game. Everything seems hard for them. Everything is hard for them. They can't. Genty gets hit in the backfield and gets like a yard. It's 2nd and 9 or it's 3rd and 9. They can't do anything. They don't create separation. Outside of Bowers and Mayer, they can't really do anything. They don't hit the deep shots when they need to. They can't. It's just everything's off to the point you had to bring in Tyler Lockett to be a guy that, okay, there's some chemistry between Geno and him because there's no chemistry with anyone. There's just none. It was terrible. I'll give you 2 examples. This is the 2 examples. And I feel bad for the Raiders. I really do. To play Quinnen Williams and then not even 6 days later have to play Myles Garrett is not fair. That's just not fair. For different reasons, of course. What Quinnen Williams does well is he stops the run. So you didn't even try to run the football. You didn't try. You just said, oh, we're going to throw the ball a lot more. And they had no balance to the offense. Troy Aikman said that all the time on Monday night. On Monday Night Football. He said it all the time. They don't have a balance to this offense. They're just throwing it. They have no choice. And that's the reason. In that game, they were so bad. In the game against Cleveland, they lose 20. They lose so badly. If I remember correctly, the score, let me read it right off here. I wrote it down. Oh, yeah, 20. Oh, actually, no, I didn't write it down here. But I had it. I think it was 24-10, if I remember correctly. They are dreadful. They are dreadful. And that was against Shedeur Sanders in his first start, which he actually looked pretty good. Not perfect, but pretty good is fine. In your first start, pretty good is fine. They couldn't stop him. They could not stop them. And that was the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett had 3 sacks. Quinnen Williams on Monday night had a sack and a half. These are not the 85 Bears. These 2 teams are not the 85 Bears. They're not the 2000 Ravens. They're not even the 2015 Broncos. Yet somehow, this keeps happening. You had to get rid of somebody. And you chose to get rid of Chip Kelly. One final note before we move on to the other firing. This was the first time Pete Carroll fired a coordinator in season. And I went back and I was like, there's no way. He's been a coach way too long. And yeah, it is. You can go all the way back. When he was in New England, when he was with the Jets, when he went and left for college, when he came back to the post with Seattle. He has not fired a coordinator in season. He's waited till after the season to do it, but he's never done it in season. He's fired 2 coaches in the last 17 days. The special teams coach McMahon he fired after the game against Denver on Thursday night, which remember there was that was like a terrible game. Bad punts from each side, bad special teams from each side. He gets McMahon fired for that. And then Chip Kelly. Now, to my knowledge, it's not known who's going to be the interim offensive coordinator. We'll probably have that for you tomorrow because as we record this, we were going to record 2 more videos, both a video tomorrow and on Wednesday. So we'll probably have that for you tomorrow. Moving on to the Giants, who fired Shane Bowen. That is music to the Giants, the New York Giants fans' ears. That is music. Because they were so bad. For most of the year, Brian Burns has led the NFL in sacks. He's been awesome. Their coverage has been not great, but it's been good at times. The linebackers are kind of hit or miss. But you can't be that bad. You really can't. And I feel bad because we're going to talk about the Giants in a little bit. They nearly beat the Lions. That game goes to overtime. So you have to give credit. Jameis Winston played his tail off. That offense was awesome. Scored 27 points against the Lions, which was impressive. But they still gave up 3 touchdowns to Gibbs, which we'll get into. But that defense broke at the wrong time. And you have to say, okay, Shane Bowen could not allow that to happen. It's not like this is a new thing that happened. It was, this team can't stop a nosebleed. They played Green Bay and nearly beat Green Bay. but their defense was so bad. They played Chicago with Dable. That was Dable's final game. And they couldn't stop Chicago. They had time. They had opportunities, and they couldn't do it. And for whatever reason, Brian Dable would not fire Shane Bowen. I honestly think if he fired Shane Bowen, he would have had a job still to this point. They let go of Wink Martindale for this guy. And that was because Dable could not get along with Wink Martindale. And they gave it to this guy. And it's not good. They're not good on defense. Outside of their pass rush, in which no team who has Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence should be this bad on defense. They just shouldn't. They really shouldn't. They are awful on defense. It's not going good. And you had to make a move. Finally, they did. If I'm the Giants, I know you haven't had a lot to celebrate this year and in recent years. This is a playoff win for you. This is a playoff win. This is a win on itself. You fired Dable. Kafka's looked okay as the head coach. Not great, but okay. Which is all you want an interim coach to be. And you get rid of Shane Bowen. That's like 2 wins. That's as many wins as you actually have in the season. Because you got rid of the 2 guys who couldn't do anything. You got to give them... I'm impressed. I really am. Now, on to Week 12. The Buffalo Bills on the road against the Houston Texans. The Texans winning 23-19. They sacked Josh Allen 8 times. I know the Texans' defense is really good. I know. Their offense is not. But since Davis Mills has been in there, they've actually looked decent. They've actually looked decent as an offense. The Bills, I don't know what is going on. I don't get it. They struggle. Allen has returned to the form when he was a rookie, where he was throwing interceptions, the play, it's not working. Unless he turns into Superman, and unless James Cook turns into Superman, this team is not very good. That's just a fact. They're so bad. I took the Bills to win, but I'm very concerned about them. And a couple weeks ago, I was watching something, and someone brought up the fact of, at what point do you blame Sean McDermott in naked change there, or being the general manager? At what point do you make a change there because of how bad they've been? They have a quarterback in their prime, and yet this keeps happening to them. I don't think you blame the general manager, even though I don't think Bean has done an excellent job, but I thought he's been really good at times. But it feels like every time, again, it goes back to what I've said about Chip Kelly, even Shane Bowen it includes. When you have a defensive coach or you have an offensive coach, and yet that side of the ball is not very good, I'm trying to figure out how. Does it get better during the season? No, not really. Okay, how? And that's what I keep thinking about this Bills team. They're not great on defense. They can't stop the run. And at times, they haven't shown they can really stop the pass. They just make a lot of mistakes. So, I guess if I'm the Bills, I wouldn't fire anybody yet. Don't tip the apple cart. Not at this point. But at some point, you do have to ask yourself, what are we going to do? Because we keep finding ourselves in this situation and we keep losing ground. We keep losing ground. And we keep losing ground to the Patriots, who won another game. The Patriots beating the Cincinnati Bengals 26-20. A game that it was thought Joe Burrow might play, and then they chose that he wasn't going to play. Probably assume around Thanksgiving because they have to play Baltimore. But the Patriots, and again, I said this a couple weeks ago when they played Tampa Bay, the game was close on the scoreboard, but was not close if you actually watched the game. The Patriots, if you watched the game, it wasn't really close. They were just beating Cincinnati. It was a ridiculous game. No Jamar Chase, he was suspended. A lot of injuries on the Cincinnati Bengals side. A lot of really bad injuries. T. Higgins got banged up. He was taken out of the game. There was a lot of injuries. Osai, who's kind of taken over for Trey Hendrickson, he got banged up. Yosivash got banged up a little bit. Like, there was a lot of injuries that they were going through. To only lose by 6, you have to give credit to them. But again, like I said, the game wasn't that close, even though the scoreboard doesn't indicate it. I thought the Patriots have played well. They're the first team to get to 10 wins in the NFL. Who would have thought that? In a league that has Kansas City and has Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen with the Bills, the Eagles have been playing really well, which we'll get into them a little bit later. Who would have thought that this Patriots team, look at the Ravens of Lamar Jackson, and they aren't even at 10 wins yet. Like, you just have to be impressed with the way the Patriots have played. As I am, I'm shocked with the way they're playing. They're playing great football. They are embodying what Mike Vrabel wanted this team to be, and that's a great sign. Let's jump to the Colts, who were playing the Chiefs, lost the game 23-20 in overtime. The Chiefs were down 20-9 in the fourth quarter, and the Colts couldn't do anything. Think about that. You had them by 11 points, and you couldn't stop them. You just couldn't. And you say, well, Jonathan Taylor, I understand that. Jonathan Taylor is an unbelievable football player. He's unbelievable. Really, if you could give the MVP to a running back, I'd give it to Jonathan Taylor. He's been that good. But this was disappointing. You can't have drives where you just don't score. You can't get conservative against teams who are going to, if they're going to fall behind and they're having a hard time on offense, you have to push the pedal down and floor the thing. And the Colts didn't do that. They did not do that. Kareem Hunt had over 100 yards. He had 30 carries. You couldn't stop them from running the football. This was a game they missed DeForest Buckner. They really did. They missed DeForest Buckner. It was not a great game for the Colts. Even though they only lose by 3, you can't play that way. You can't. I'm sorry. You cannot play that way. Against a Chiefs team who's now 6-5, has to play on Thanksgiving. They have a short week to do it. And this Chiefs team also banged up, by the way, on the offensive line. Trey Smith has a high ankle sprain, and he has also a low ankle sprain. So he's going to miss time. Their best offensive lineman is out, and you still couldn't beat them. Now, even if he was playing on them, like, you can't be saying that. You can't just be that bad. That's a concern for the Colts. You have way too much of a lead to lose it now. You have to get back to winning football. You just have to be able to win the games you can win, control the stuff you can control. But this gotta be taken on the chin, absolutely. You gotta put the blame on this defense. You gotta put the blame on this offense. The offense because they didn't score any more points. The defense because too many fourth down conversions they gave up. Too many. 4th and 3s, 3rd and longs. You can't do that. Not a great performance by the Colts. And the Chiefs that desperately needed it. Desperately. They were losing ground and they were losing it quick. They desperately needed it. Moving on to the Giants at the Lions. Lions winning the game 34-27 in overtime. Gibbs had 3 touchdowns, including the touchdown that put him ahead in overtime. Goff, I don't know how to describe his game against the Giants. They were not very good. They were just not good. He got off his spot and he really struggled. They just could not win at the point of attack. And I would be concerned because the Giants, they don't have a great defense. They have a good defensive line. The linebacker's been okay. Their secondary's been decent at times, been poor at times, but they've had some good moments. And yet they were in a shootout with the Giants, whose offense is getting run by Jameis Winston again, and Jameis Winston looked really good. He didn't make any big-time mistakes. He was throwing bombs. They were scoring points. It came down to Aiden Hutchinson having to make a play, and he made it. But time and time again, I look at this Lions team, especially the last 2 weeks, I've been a little disappointed. To lose the game the way you did against the Eagles, where your defense played phenomenal, but your offense couldn't do dead. In this game against the Giants, your offense scores 34 points, but you let the Giants offense score 27. With Jameis Winston as the quarterback. Not great. Not great. When the leading receiver is Theo Johnson and Wan'Dale Robinson, it's kind of hard for me to go and be like, oh, what a shootout game this will be. But it was. So I don't know if this is just this defense. His secondary has just been beaten up so badly with injuries. But whatever it is, you got to give credit. The Giants fought in this game, but the Lions, not a good game for them. Even though they won, I'm extremely disappointed because they go against a Green Bay team who just destroyed the Vikings after the Lions couldn't beat the Vikings. You have to give credit there. There's a concern if I'm the Lions. You have to rebound. You have to rebound fast because on Thanksgiving, you play the Packers. You could lose down there and get swept by the Packers. And then you play Dallas, who Dallas hasn't played great, but Dallas beat Philadelphia, which we'll get into. And they tied Green Bay. You have to win. Because now that would be 2 tiebreakers, which is getting a little annoying if you're the Lions. Let's jump to the Jets and Ravens game. Ravens winning the game 23-10. Look, it wasn't a great performance. Was not. But the Jets, I guess the one thing you could say, you only lost by 13. This seems like a lost season at this point for the offense. They just don't know what their position is, what they're doing. They don't look calculated at all. They put so much, you give it to Tyrod Taylor thinking that would make it better, but it didn't work. And this Ravens defense isn't very good, but they still only give up 10 points. The Ravens offense scored 23. Derrick Henry becomes the 12th all-time leading rusher. Give credit for that. But I'm disappointed in how this Jets team is faring, especially in recent weeks where they just haven't looked good at all. And they haven't looked good all season, I know that, but they just haven't looked good at all. Final game, the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys won the game 24-21. In a game that was very weird, in the tale of 2 halves for sure. The Eagles at one point were up 21-0. It looked like a boat race. I was home with family, and I was watching this game. I was losing my mind. At one point, I legit said, why does this team hurt my soul? I was talking about the Cowboys. I'm like, why does this team hurt my soul? One of my family members laughed. But she knew exactly what I was going through. This team hurts my soul. And then in the second, they just too many mistakes. They turned the ball over too many times. Bad interception by Dak in the red zone. Cavante Turpin fumbles. They had fumbles all over the place. It was bad. There was a play. This is the truth. They fumble on a play. It gets CD fumbles, who had 4 drops, by the way. It was terrible. He dropped. he had 7 drops against the Eagles in the 2 games they played. It's just been a disaster. They go fumble. CD fumbles. It was ruled that he was down. The next play, Kevontae Turpin fumbles after he falls, hits the leg of the left tackle, and the ball comes out. I was like, oh my gosh. But your defense, outside of the 21 points, played well. They played really well. I was impressed by them. They didn't give up any more points after the 21 on the first 3 drives. They didn't do anything. They couldn't do. They were shut down. But then the Cowboys score right before half. It's 21-7. Eagles get the ball to start. Can't really do anything about it. Dallas makes it the game at 21-14. Eagles are driving. Can't really do anything. Cowboys go back down the field. Dak Prescott runs it in for a touchdown to tie the game at 21. The Eagles are driving and are actually able to move the ball in this game at this point and get it to Saquon, who fumbles. His first fumble loss of all year. Dallas can't do anything with it. They punt it away. Xavier Gibson, who's the return man for the Eagles, for whatever reason, fielded it inside his own 5. Tries to return it, takes a big shot, and fumbles. Cowboys recover inside the 10-yard line. They go for it on 4 straight plays. They don't convert. In fact, CeeDee Lamb drops a touchdown. It was bad. It was really bad. But then the Eagles couldn't do really anything. They kept trying to move the ball. It gets to 3rd down. That defensive line of the Cowboys, who only had 1 sack all game, came in at the best time. 3rd and 2. Don't quite understand the concept the Eagles were trying to run. Sacked by Odigizua. They punt it. Dallas starts to move the football. Big chunk plays. At one, Ferguson actually fumbles. The ball goes out of bounds. But then they get a big chunk play on 3rd down to Ferguson for a gain of 19. Pickens, who 9 targets, he had 9 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. He was insane. He made a play where they had to move Cooper DeJean outside because of the injury to Adoree Jackson, because they don't want to play Kelly Ringo. They just don't want to play Ringo outside. They just don't want to do it. And so they started to put DeJean out there, and it was just, I couldn't even believe the catch. It was an unbelievable catch. Legit, what happened, how Dallas got back into this game was unbelievable catches. They had a great catch on the seam by Ferguson that put him near the goal line to score their first touchdown that went to Pickens. The second touchdown was a 50-yard bomb to CeeDee Lamb, who hadn't caught anything really all game. He was able to hold on to it. It was just a great play. They scored their second touchdown on that. Their third touchdown, bomb to George Pickens for 43 yards, which he mosses 2 defenders on. It was a great game for that to get back into. Your defense played really well, I thought. You didn't get a lot of sacks. You didn't really get a lot of pressures. Saquon Barkley only had 22 yards rushing. A bunch of that was also they didn't really give him the football, but he had 2.2 yards a carry. He couldn't do anything. The loss of Lane Johnson was evident in this game. Jalen Hurts got hit a lot, even though the sacks went exactly there. It made him hard to get completions. But I don't know what this offense is at this point. If I'm the Eagles, what is this offense? I have no idea. And I understand you saying, well, it's Kevin Patullo who's the offensive coordinator. Is not a good offensive coordinator. I get that. But this was bad. You go. I think they had 11 drives in this game. They didn't score like on 8 of them, and the last couple were really bad. They had like the last, I think, 6 drives. They had multiple punts, a fumble, and a missed field goal. They couldn't do anything. Dallas shut them down. And this offense has gone away at times in spurts during the year. They were bad. You can't change that. They were really bad. It got to the second half. Dallas got going. They ran the ball well. They had over 100 yards. Dak Prescott had 2 touchdowns, and he ran for another one. He also had that interception in the red zone, which I don't know why he threw it. The protection was actually pretty good. I kept saying this over the course of the game too, and I've said it the last couple of weeks, like, why are teams trying to throw the ball at Donovan Mitchell? He got beat a lot in this game. And yes, he made some good plays, but he got beat a lot too. It wasn't like Dallas was also necessarily, how do I say this? Like I said, their offense was shooting themselves in the foot more than anything. And yet the Eagles couldn't respond. They had, at one point they showed it. The Eagles had 2 turnovers. Or recovered 2, had 2. How do I say this? The defense of the Eagles took the ball away 2 times, and the Eagles offense could only score 7 points. That's how bad this got. They can't do anything. They had a touchdown to A.J. Brown on the first drive. On the second drive, there's a couple of Jalen Hurts runs, but they really struggle. They just really struggle. It's just getting bad at this point if you're the Eagles, because you're 8-3. You're not losing ground at all. You're fine. You're where you need to be. I mean, you're second seed now, but you've been good. But if this keeps happening to you, you play Chicago on Black Friday. You can't lose that one, because now you're in real trouble if something happens in the last month of the season. You're in real trouble because you faced Commanders twice, which you've shown that you are going to split with basically every division opponent you have. And you play the Bills, who haven't been great, but they've been in games. So I'm definitely concerned if they lose to Chicago on Black Friday. If not, I'm not that concerned. But if you're the Cowboys, this was a great win. It keeps you in the hunt for the playoffs. You're holding it down for now. You have a really, I keep scratching my eye, I know. You have a really tough schedule. You are going to run a gauntlet. You have to play the Chiefs on Thanksgiving. That's not an easy game. You have to play the Lions the following Thursday night. Then you play the Vikings after your 10-day break. And then you play the Chargers. And that will put you at the 21st of December. And then you play the Commanders on Christmas. So you have a really tough schedule. All those teams made the playoffs in their respective conferences. So you have to basically win all but one of those. It's going to be really hard. But if you can do it and you can show that, hey, we did that against the Super Bowl champions, we absolutely can do it. We have the faith that we can do it. We have the belief that we can do it. That was the term that Dak Prescott used in his press conference. We believed, and we believed throughout the game. And if they can show, hey, we did this to the Eagles, we could do this to the Chiefs, we can do this to the Lions, we can do this to anybody. It's a confidence booster. Will it actually pay off? Who knows? But it is a confidence booster. You have to give credit where credit is due. I think the Cowboys looked good. I thought the Eagles' offense was bad in the second half. I thought the Eagles' defense was not great in the second half. So this goes both ways. Eagles' offense and defense in the second half, not good. The Cowboys' offense and defense, really good in the second half. You have to give it up to to the Cowboys in the second half because of the way they played. The Eagles had a great first half. You have to admit it. Let me know in the comments, were you surprised by the Chip Kelly firing? And also, if you're a Giants fan, give me a shout out for announcing that Shane Bowen was fired. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert. Out.